Hello, 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 Cape Cod and beyond. My guest today is acclaimed Rastafarian dub poet, musician, actor, educator, and radio talk show host, Mutabaruka, who will be coming to town for Provincetown Film Society's first annual Jamaican Film Festival, Jamaica on Film, happening May 17th through the 19th. There will be 2 screenings of the film H2 Worker Friday with Mutabaruka speaking, and director Stephanie Black will be there for the Q&A as well. First of all, it's an honor to have you with us. Thanks for coming to Provincetown for our first Jamaican on Film Festival. You wrote a song called H2 Worker, and a film by the same name from filmmaker Stephanie Black will be screened May 17th twice as part of the film festival. Can you talk about the subject of the film and your role in the festival?
But she asked me to compose the song, which is the theme song for it. Actually, it's a poem. The movie is about the conditions of cane and apple farmers that leave Jamaica and go to Florida to pick up cut cane. So what it does, it tracks all of the problems that the cane farmers meet when they go to Florida, the conditions that they live in, and the type of treatment that is meted out to them. So what she does, she starts in Jamaica and she shows you the government's situation and what the government do to really help or not help the farmers. And so she goes into the living quarters of the farmers, and they speak their mind. They tell you the conditions that they are living in and what really is going on amongst them. And it's really almost like a tragic story, coming from the farmers and what we hear from the government. There's a kind of discrepancy between what the government says and what the farmers experience. So it's all about that, trying to bring to the attention of the world the plight of these farmers in Florida, knowing that there are some poor people who leave Jamaica hoping that things will be better for them, searching for better in a foreign land, and what they meet when they reach that land is not what they expected. So that is what really the crux of the movie is about. It's about what the government say and what the farmers experience. And I wrote the poem based upon what I saw, because she actually showed me the film before it was released.
Do you think that things have changed for immigrants to America from Jamaica?
Because after that was brought to the attention of a lot of people, I think it was closed down. That aspect of it. But they still go to Canada. There's a group of Jamaicans that leave for Canada, to pick apple and all these things. So I don't think it's happening again in America. But there are still people immigrating to America, because a lot of Jamaicans feel that they would be getting better in America. A lot of people want to leave Jamaica because they feel that America is a land of opportunity. Their mindset is saying that if they leave Jamaica, they will be better and their family would be better. So, yes, a lot of ones want to come to America still. In the 50s and 60s, we wanted to go to England, because England was what we call the mother country. England was the colonial masters at the time. So a lot of people, when they were shipping banana, a lot of banana was going to England. So a lot of Jamaicans left on the banana boats to go to England, and a lot of them did not come back. Now we have a situation where we call the Windrush people, where after working in England, they were seen still as illegal aliens in England, and they tried to deport them. But now there's a trust in England and in Jamaica where people are really reeling about how is it that the people were there so long, before the 70s, and now they are seen as illegal aliens, So that is really another problem. But that is England, Jamaicans are still coming to America by the droves.
Can you talk about what your experience growing up in Jamaica in the 50s and 60s was like, in terms of how things shifted into, well, at least on a personal level, can you talk about the Black awareness movement and how you came to find your voice as a poet?
I wasn't that big to understand what was going on. You know, I was born in 1952, so the 50s was not part of my journey as a blackness. Or where I got that from was when I used to go to school in the late 60s. In the late 60s, I used to go to high school, and we had a group of teachers in the school that was very black conscious. At that time, the Black Power movement was very powerful. You know, we had the Black Panther in America. We have Stokely Carmichael, Malcolm X, all of these people. So it was very influential, and a lot of teachers in my school was part of that movement. And we had the opportunity to have Marcus Garvey Jr., which was Marcus Garvey's first son, teaching at the school where I used to go. So those influences started to influence me in the early stage of my high school. You know, we started to read a lot of books, you know, and we get to meet Amy Jakes Garvey, which was Garvey's second wife. She used to live up in Kingston. So we used to go to her house and sit down and talk and all these things. So my black awareness started in the late 60s. And what happened is that we started to write poems that reflect what we think should happen as it relates to black empowerment, you know, black power, as according to Stokely Carmichael. He was the one, I think, phrased the term black power. So from in the late 60s, we moved toward the black power, and then we started to be influenced by the Rastafari movement. The Rastafari movement in Jamaica, a lot of young people started to gravitate towards that, you know, because they recognized, at least I recognized that the Black Power movement was more socio-political. It didn't have a spiritual awakening. You know, Rastafari was not only a Black Power movement, but it was also connecting to the spirit of Africanness. You know, the Black Power movement was more social things where you are and exempting Africa. And Marcus Garvey pointed us to Africa. You know, so as a young person, we not only embrace the Black Power movement, but we also embrace the idea of what Marcus Garvey speak about Africa for Africans, those at home and those abroad, and recognizing that it was very important as an African to really embrace a certain spirituality outside of Christianity. So that is what propelled me to write the poems that we write. We write the poems from a socio-political, spiritual connection with Africa.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So the Rastafarianism brought you to a spiritual solidarity with Africa and with your soul.
Outside of Christianity.
And yes. And I think that's really key to independence and autonomy.
Yeah, well, this claimed independence in 1962, but the Queen Elizabeth is still the head of Jamaica. The crown is the head of Jamaica. The land in Jamaica is owned by the Queen. And the parliament is set on a British parliamentarian system. So the laws of Jamaica was ordained and maintained by the sovereign state, which is under the Queen Elizabeth, which we have a governor general that represents the Queen. And as a youth coming up, we didn't see that as independence. We still don't see it as independence. So we decided that Rastafari is the way out. You know, Christianity was not showing us anything because it was the same colonial thinking, colonial mindset that drive Christianity up to this day. So we kind of ease away from that and created our own ideas and own concepts and logics of how we're going to decide our destiny, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think anybody who hasn't read Eldridge Cleaver's Soul on Ice, which I think is probably really a quintessential reading for understanding the Black Power.
Yeah, well, I used to read it. Yeah, I read it.
Yeah.
I read Wretched of the Earth. I read, the Black Jacobin, all of the books. Autobiography of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. All those books I started to read in school, you know.
Yeah. So your song, A People's Court, it's off Black, We Black, where you try politicians and religious figures for selling out Black people, and you address social oppression, discrimination, and sexism, racism, poverty. You know, how do you feel music has played a role in education and social change in Jamaica?
When the music started to get popular, after Rocksteady, because there was an era when it was ska, well, it was Mento ska, Rocksteady, and then reggae. What happened is that during the time of reggae, a lot of youth who was moving amongst the Rastafari brethren them and sisters also became Rastafari. And the writing the song started to change. You know, we can't mention like the Wailers, which was Bob Marley Wailers. There wasn't Rastas when they started out, but in moving amongst the elder Rastafari brethren them, they started to get more conscious of what they write and what they should say in the music. So it started to create a Rastafari theme, a Rastafari perspective. And it started to change a lot of ideas and perceptions about black people. And the more the music spread, is the more black people started gravitating on white people, because there's a lot of white people who was feeling oppression also. And this music, they could relate to that music. They could relate to the words that was coming out of the bread them at the time. They could relate to it. You know, when I started to write poetry and I started to record a poetry, it was in the time of the apartheid regime. And reggae music started to address these themes. It started to address the apartheid team in no uncertain terms. That when I met Winnie Mandela, I went to South Africa. First thing came to me was one of my CDs. She was saying that the music, our music, Rastafari reggae music, was what helped them be strong and be more resourceful into their struggle for liberation. You know, and that was right across Africa. In Zimbabwe, people was fighting against apartheid. They said that reggae music reached them to the point where, you know, it helped to shape the thinking. You know, Nelson Mandela came to Jamaica and he uttered the same thing in the stadium. He said that it is the reggae music that spurred them on, that moved them. You know, so I'm saying that the reggae music did help and is helping to reshape the thinking of a lot of people. You know, it was Bob Marley music that was playing to tumble the Berlin Wall. So the music did help and has helped to reshape the thinking of people who feel a certain oppression, and it designed their consciousness. It made them start to be aware of what is politically wrong, what is socially wrong, and what is spiritually wrong with what the Western world was feeding us. You know, so yeah, the music has helped to shape a lot of consciousness.
So hey, you're an actor and you've been in 5 different films. You were in Life and Death, Sankofa, Black We Black, White Material, and One Love. And, you know, Life and Death is a documentary on how globalization has affected life and industry in Jamaica. And Sankofa is about an African-American fashion model on a photo shoot in Africa who is spiritually transported to a plantation where she experiences the horrors of slavery and the power of community and rebellion. Can you talk about the influence of film from your perspective and how it can create social change?
Yeah, well, Sankofa was one of the movies that I was one of the lead players in that movie. But it's showing you the movement of African people across the Atlantic Ocean and how this helped to revitalize them energy towards where they was coming from. Because African people was taken not by free will but by force, as we know. So this movie, which was done by an Ethiopian named Haile Jerima, he lives in Washington. What he's trying to do is connect the spirituality of African people, that even though they were in bondage and slavery, there was still the need to free themselves. And the movie carried through that process. From Africa, where this woman, her spirit is moving from the slave dungeons of Africa into the Caribbean and our experience in the Caribbean. So it shows you the feelings, the behavior, the spirituality, the resilience of African people on the plantation, and how that helps now to reconcile your energy in this time. So it's called Sankofa because what Sankofa means is to go back into the past to gather what you can to help you now. And that is what this woman went through. Her mind went back into the past, and then it helped to shape her consciousness where she was at the time. So she was a different woman when she experienced that in her consciousness. And this slave, which was I was a man, the part of it, Shango helped to shape her mind, shape her consciousness, and also helped to facilitate the rebellion against the plantation and move it to now, because it's really about what are we doing now. After knowing what took place, what are we doing now? So we need to get an understanding of where we came from in order to know where we're going. And that's what really Sankofa is about. Sankofa is about where we came from and what are we going to do now. That is really what the movie is all about.
That's phenomenal. You're coming here to our first Jamaican Film Festival happening through the Provincetown Film Society Institute this May 16th through the 19th. Thank you so much, Mutabaruka, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So folks can find information on Jamaica on Film at provincetownfilm.org.